Testing, testing. Almost ready. Testing, testing. Let's see who's here. Almost ready. All right. Testing, testing. Let's see who's here. Okay, almost ready. Okay. See if I can share my screen. Even though there aren't many people watching, I'm going to continue. All right. Speaking. Testing, testing. Let's see who's here. Okay, almost ready. Even though there aren't many people watching. Oh, wow. Like 5 people jumped on like I know it. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. Even though I can share my screen. Even though we don't have many people watching. Even though there aren't many people watching, I'm going to continue. All right. Speaking. Testing, testing. Let's see who's here. Okay, almost ready. Even though there aren't many people watching. Oh, wow. Like 5 people jumped on like I know it. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. Even though I can share my screen. Even though there aren't many people watching, I'm going to. All right. Testing, testing. Let's see who's here. Okay, almost ready. Even though there aren't many people watching. Oh, wow. Like 5 people jumped on like I know it. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. Even though I can share my screen. Even though there aren't many people watching. Testing, testing. Almost ready. Even though there aren't many people watching. Oh, wow. Like 5 people. Even though I can share my screen. How's that? How's that? Josh, can you leave a comment or somebody, because multiple people are watching on different, depending on what channel. Leave a comment. Let me know if you can, if my audio is okay now. Does it sound all right? That sound all right to you? Yes, no, baby, so. Audio sound good? Let me refresh, make sure I'm not missing any comments. Better. Okay, cool. Cool, cool. All right, so let's get started. So let me repeat that. Let me start from the top. Thank you very much for coming. I'm going to speak, even though not many people are watching me live at the moment. It depends on what time zone you're in. But naturally, I didn't expect many people to show up. But I'm still going to speak as though there are many people, because this video will eventually have many viewers as I boost it with advertising and or deliver it via email to various email lists. So I'm still going to speak to a wider audience, even though there's only total 5 people watching right now. And, you know, as you guys come and go. So without further ado, thank you very much for showing up to the presentation. What we're going to talk about today, and I'll be pausing throughout just to, you know, for breathers, just to make sure everybody is following what I'm saying. The plan, the overall vision and plan for building the women's shelters throughout Alaska, continental US, and Europe. And it's called Project Folkvanger, okay. Or Folkvanger if you have the American accent. Now, first, to address new audiences who may have never heard of me before, A little bit about us, the company, Wolven Industries. Our mission is to serve and protect our civilization by developing top-of-the-line technology for home security and national defense. We started in the year 2018, and as a sort of side project, catalyzed by me joining the University of York in England through the Open Plus program for an honors degree in physics. So I built the initial sole proprietorship of the company in tandem with me fulfilling assignments and learning along the way as a student physicist. Then in 2019, circa 2019, COVID lockdowns occurred. And that didn't disrupt my college education, as that was primarily remote anyway. Because at the time I was living in Spain, but my courses were in England. So I would only fly to England at certain times throughout the year anyway, while the vast majority of my courses were, in fact, remote. That said, during the lockdown, we developed what was called the U-Ray. By we, I mean me and the original core Wolven Industries team, which I will get into on a later slide. We developed what was called the U-Ray to protect families from COVID or any other harmful microbe in a way that didn't rely upon experimental vaccines. Now, I'm not an anti-vax guy conceptually, but I did have an issue with the experimental mRNA vaccines. With that said, I tried to develop. Actually, I didn't try. I did successfully develop we successfully developed a technological solution for utilizing UVC rays to effectively destroy microbes with parts that were approved to confirm to kill COVID by Tel Aviv University. With that said, it was a great project. I must have dropped well over $100,000 into it of my own cash. And while it went through a lot of bumps in the road, we did come up with a functioning product. It did work, and we could sell it. However, by 2022, we experienced a variety of factors, that led to the failure of the U-Ray and the corporate dissolution of the company. But for anyone who pre-ordered, we made sure that all pre-ordering customers received a 150% refund, just to thank them for giving us the time of day. With that said, if there's anyone watching this video that we missed giving those 150% refunds to, even though that was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, technically, it was 2.5 years ago, you are still eligible for the 150% refund. Just send us a message. Let me know that you had faith in my character, and I'll make sure, once I verify that you actually were a customer during that time period, I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. I'll do it personally myself. All right, with that said, so skipping ahead a lot of details, 2024 comes along, and we shift into a phase of recovery. I dropped out of my physics degree program. I had no other choice, to protect my family, which I'll get into later, and work more hours in my day job to pay back debts, because I had built the foundational launch of the U-Ray on a combination of bootstrap cash and private investor funds. By private investor funds, I mean that we had a Slack chat, and I drafted up a DocuSign contract, and I told them, hey, I will give you back a certain percentage or pay it back in cash over time, however that may play out. We made sure that was contractually sealed. And to this day, there are only 2 left that I have to pay back, but I'm actively working to pay them back as we speak, right? So they haven't lashed out at all. Like, everybody knows where I stand. I've been transparent with everyone. So even though I would classify the U-Ray as a failure, I don't think I actually lost any real credibility as an entrepreneur. None of my private investors left. We're all right. We're good. And we're set on the revival, which then shifts to the year 2026. I have in this PowerPoint presentation, even though it is currently 2025. We plan for a full revitalization of taking pre-orders once again for our new line of products by January 1st, 2026. In other words, the new year. And currently we're in October at the time this video was filmed. So within just a couple months, I plan to have everything good and ready, good to go to start bringing in money once again, right? As if nothing even happened. So with that said, and this time with more experience, better business plan, et cetera, et cetera. So what was the catalyzation for the story of the women's shelter? Why a women's shelter? What was the story of that? Right. So before moving to Alaska, I had purchased a small plot of land in Alaska remotely. So I accessed it via Zillow.com. I was still living in Spain, but I wanted to secure land ownership in Alaska while I was still living in Spain. So I remotely purchased a plot of land, about 4 hours from Anchorage in a place called Kenai. And depending upon what timestamp we're talking about, I spent my time in Alaska when I did move there in one of two ways, generally. Protecting my children, my wife and children, or preparing my land to build on. With that said, who is this man? This man is named David C. Haggith. And he is the reason why a lot of bad things, not 100%, because I'm not pinning everything that bad happened to the company on this man, but a significant portion of why the project failed was due to this man. And he is the catalyzational reason why I've been inspired to create women's shelters all throughout the West, and both, Western Europe and Eastern Europe. This man, David C. Haggith, spent 5 years for sexually assaulting 2 little girls, at least one of them being under the age of 9. He used this power in order to secure his victims. He used this power as a landlord or landowner to manipulate the little girls' parents. While either distracted or with coercive power over them, he would sneak into the house he owned with the child isolated and take advantage of them. And he would do this repeatedly. His wife divorced him when he was finally convicted, and he lost custody of his daughter. It's demented that he would have a daughter and do this to other people's daughters. And even to this day, he never paid the damages awarded to the victims by the court. And you can verify this all in the Alaskan court registry. So I'm using a public domain image from the sex offender registry. So nothing I'm saying isn't publicly available. None of this is secret. He also has a checkered history with grown women as well, at least one of them having won a restraining order filed against them some years ago. And as of the time of this video, there are now 2 new court cases against him, one of them being in the Alaskan Supreme Court. Who is David Haggith to me? And why am I putting him in my presentation and saying that he is the inspirational catalyst for the women's shelters? It's because he was my landlord. Relax, he didn't assault my little girls. He didn't assault my wife. But that's only because I was a unique variable in the situation. Whereas the other poor victims did not have a man or father like me present in order to deter him. Effectively, he and I stalemated for like 2 years because he tricked me the same way. He tricked me and my wife the same way he tricked the other people by leveraging some kind of a minor technical glitch in the sex offender registry to convince us that, hey, it's not actually me in the sex offender registry. And you'll find, if you see our court case against him, you'll see where his side of the defense confirmed that we did in fact fulfill ASOR regulations, and he straight up lied to us. By defrauding us into a rental application with him, I was placed in a position of extreme financial vulnerability due to the cash investment I had made both in the place and in Wolven Industries. And with that said, the moment I discovered what he was, the kind of monster this man was, a tit-for-tat game, a cat and mouse Joker v. Batman style game occurred between he and I to make sure that I maintained the integrity, the innocence of my children, and the sanctity of my wife, the honor of my wife. I succeeded. No physical harm. He was unable to inflict any physical harm on my family. But in order to protect him came at a terrible cost, including but not limited to me dropping out of college and the temporary dissolution of Wolven Industries. Now I'm far away from this man. We all are. And we have more or less recovered from the incident, even though it happened 2 years ago, there was a time frame of like 2 years where it was just absolute hell for me. Um, with that said, with that said, here's why I decided to go in the direction of creating women's shelters all over the state and then thereafter the country as well as Europe. Alaska is one of the leading. It like it fluctuates, but at one point, within recent years, it was the top three in the entire country for sexual assault cases statistically. And I read earlier, just before this live stream, that approximately 57% of all women in Alaska have experienced some form of sexual assault in their lifetimes. Some form of it. Or forced trafficking, whatever the derivation may be in their respective contextual scenario. That means over half of the women living in Alaska at some point or another gets raped or trafficked. It's open information, statistical fact. And now, of course, I took all this into consideration when moving my own family there, but I foolishly believe that, hey, it's not going to happen to me. And that was dumb on my part. And theoretically, it didn't happen to me. Or technically, it didn't happen to me, but not at a great cost. With that said, zooming out from Alaska for a second, if you understand me as a person and you go into my backstory, I realize that I have a pattern of being subconsciously drawn to protecting people. And I say this both with pride and with a little bit of concern, because psychoanalytically, if I was laying on a therapist's couch and let's say if I was hypothetically speaking to this respective therapist, those people, they're like, oh, wow, I keep finding myself in these situations where, I don't know, and it's like a cycle that just repeats. I started realizing since childhood, I've been finding myself in positions where I am poised to legitimately save someone. When I was 11-ish years old, I rescued my mother from death. She was laying. I was the kind of kid that skipped, despite being intelligent, more intelligent than average. I was the type of kid who would stay home from school or skip school. And luckily that day I had skipped school to find my mother prostrated and bleeding on the floor. And so I was the rebellious kid that would skip school, but I didn't do drugs or anything like that. I would do actually very productive things with my time, but like reading other books that were not part of school curriculum. But I just, I don't know. I was an interesting kid, but I found my mom and I rescued her by calling 911 and applying whatever basic medical care I could to her at the scene. I'm not going to go into detail with that. And then there's another story with how I even found my wife. And she was an English teacher. We were both mutually in China. I'm not going to go into explicit detail about my personal backstory. I've done that enough. If you want to know the details of my personal backstory, you may check nortonsmind.com or my Substack blog, or even check out the book Fighting for Redemption. That goes into explicit detail with a lot. But I rescued my wife, or should I say more accurately, I prevented my wife from being sex trafficked in China. And she's not Chinese, she's actually European, but that's what made her such a high value target, because blonde haired Europeans go for a pretty penny in China. So I actually ended up standing down, and I know this sounds crazy, but she'll back me up. Part of our love story was me standing down an entire local chapter of some Chinese triad gang to keep her. And I did not end up getting killed magically. Not magically. I know why. There's actually more details of that story. But I was fortunate enough to have everything turn out for me, despite the harrowing odds against me. Flash forward. Alaska. Once again, I'm pitted to in a situation to protect someone. Even though it's my wife and children, and it would be the second time I protect my wife. This is just the fact that I am subconsciously drawn to protecting people, rescuing people. Even in the military, I served on the emergency response team. That was my job. to line rappel from the rooftops of buildings and rescue people from bombed buildings. Yeah. Right. So that was part of my job. With that said, there was a certain point when I first started Wolven Industries that I wanted to appeal to men with my marketing. I wanted to draw a masculine audience of soldiers and private military forces and special forces. And I did to some extent, but it turns out I kept struggling. I kept thinking, why am I failing? But it turns out I wasn't failing. What was occurring was a manifestation of me staying true to my personal ethos of authenticity and vulnerability. What ended up occurring, and has thus far, is that approximately 75% of my audience, according to email statistics and back-end social media statistics, turned out to be female. 75% of my audience, out of approximately 30,000 people, are women that I attracted by being my authentic self online. With that said, at first I felt like I failed because I thought to myself, well, what women are going to buy anything from my company? But then I realized, wait a minute, whoa, stop. Either I was doing something totally wrong or I was doing something incredibly right. So reading this, it's after deep philosophical deliberation, I decided to stop rejecting this aspect of my subconscious mind because that's what they were attracted to. All I've been doing is just almost like literary stream of consciousness. It's just, there's no real plan. I have like some recurring posts, but other than that, for the vast majority, for like 95% of my posts, it's just stream of consciousness. It's live streaming my mind, hence the name of the sole proprietorship, the brand Norton's Mind. I'm just live streaming my experiences in journal form online. And that's the crowd that my subconscious mind attracted. 75% women. Overwhelmingly feminine audience. Does that mean there's something wrong with me? Maybe. Or maybe there's something about the way that I approach problem solving, the way that I define and view masculinity that attracts women for their own respective subconscious reasons of whether they dislike me or dislike me. So after thinking really deeply about that, I thought, well, wait a minute, am I actually doing something wrong? Or is this actually what makes me unique from other masculine brands? Because what does it really mean to protect one's civilization anyhow? And I go into this philosophically in the book Yield that I published about a month ago. And the two main characters, father and son, are discussing what it means to really be a part of a warrior in a civilization. And what is the universal role of warriors throughout all of history, cross-culturally? And it's generally, not in every case, but generally, by far and large, it's been to protect women and children. And so when I really thought about that, even the deeper I went into that line of thinking, I thought, wait, what if it's not me that's wrong? What if it's other masculine brands that are wrong? Right? Is it the male influencer who attracts men that really knows how to attract women? Or is it the guy who attracts women who knows how to attract women? Right? Think about that. So I thought about it. If the company mission is literally to protect and serve our civilization, just like a police officer would, but simply in a more creative, entrepreneurial way, then who is it that I'm really protecting beyond the women and children? So I started thinking, no, I think I'm actually doing something incredibly right. I'm consciously following a model that I think should be the status quo, but in actuality, I'm doing so many things right that the other brands are not. And in this core following of my personal branding, I realized these are exactly the people that I should be protecting. So I thought about my own life traumas, and I came to the existential conclusion that, maybe protecting women and children is precisely what I was designed for. Maybe that's my life calling. Maybe that's my purpose. And my traumas do not serve to ruin me from the chaotic childhood that I come from, but to equip me with exactly what is needed to stare evil straight into the eyes to stare into and against it in my own beautifully broken way that few others have the courage to. And then suddenly, the way for our mission becomes clear as a company. What is a more symbolic way than to build a company, at least on the front end of society? Because there's a front end to marketing and there's a back end to marketing. On the front end, which I refer to as business to consumer rather than business to business or business to government. On the front end of the company, no, I'm attracting exactly who I should be and developing advanced home security technology to protect the women and children. And then on the back end, okay, secure government contracting and develop perhaps something for new technology for special forces and things like that, but not on the front end. Right? And I realize that foundationally, I'm doing everything correct, just about, as foundationally speaking. So what is Folkvanger? Well, what is the vision for it, at least? Out of the women and children that we can sell great home security technology to, that are in stable homes, but are simply looking for protection from external intruders. What about the women who have internal intruders, internal enemies, people that assail them at home? How do I protect them? So the security technology that we will be able to sell will be for the purposes of protecting women who are in stable homes, or perhaps they live in lower income societies and lower income communities, and they need something like ADT or some other home security competitor that is willing to sell them home technology at a much more affordable cost with equal to or superior effect in protecting them. But on the other side of that coin, how do we protect the women and children that need to escape their homes? And Folkvanger is the answer. Right? I don't want it to be merely a place of rest, but of recovery. Right? Part of what keeps toxic relationships together is the fear of starting over with income independence and marketable skills. Sometimes people go homeless permanently, and I've seen them. If you travel the streets of Anchorage or New York City or whatever, just go to any major city, you'll see women that are homeless. And they're not all druggies. Right? Modern times, it's difficult in modern times to really live anywhere. It is hard to secure rent, especially if you're on your own, let alone escaping a toxic environment. So I want it to be not just each of these shelters that I will be building to be not just simply a place where they can lay their head like a standard operating procedural, governmentally supported public domain warehouse of a dank and cold open bay shelter, but a place of genuine provision and protection that provides them not just simply a place to stay, but job training, skills, and job opportunities necessary to truly start fresh without fear. And how would I provide that? For starters, train them in business. And perhaps they can help one of my own other sole proprietorships or LLCs at a certain point. Why not? Why not bequeath to them skills that my wife and I or my family have developed and learned over time, and just put that in a free course format. Free is the key word here, not charging them for these courses. Free course format, totally educational. If they need both the education to learn new marketable skills that are pertinent to the current times, right? And some kind of sales or job opportunity while we provide them this housing, this shelter, and they work for either me or some other partner with the skills that they learned from us to get back on their feet, right? They wouldn't have to pay rent. They wouldn't have to pay the bills. That would be by me. They get on their feet while protected by Wolven Industries security. And then 2, not merely a place of safety, but of unparalleled protection. This is what I mean by Wolven Industries security. With the new technology for home security that Wolven Industries is developing, we'll be able to provide advanced threat detection and police communication that syncs every refugee. And by refugee, I don't mean like a African refugee. I mean like a refugee of domestic abuse, refugees, internal home refugees. They are seeking refuge in these shelters in real time. So, and I have some technology to show here live on the live stream. Everyone in the shelter can be synced communicatively with their phones, along with the police. So if anything at any point happens to any of them at any time, there can be automatic signals sent directly to the police without question that they would need to confirm, that they would need to manually tell the police, hey, it's all right, don't come, false alarm or whatever it may be, but to make sure that they are all right. Because a lot of times you don't have the ability to manually call the police if you're really in a bad situation, right? So the women will be able, and just for the blinds, because people who've been following me for a while, they know me. I consider both the light side of my own personality and my own Jungian shadow. So to keep a pure idea pure, I will ensure and verify to the public that none of their private information about, pertaining to what could be monitored about them via security will ever go to me. They will have complete control over their privacy, and that data will only be kept in the shelter and or sent to the police. And the woman will be able to collectively control that digital data of their privacy with full accountability of who attempts to enter and leave the premises, with automatically changing security parameters to prevent pattern exploitation by criminals. And that sounds really advanced, and it is, but we already have working prototypes. I have a working prototype of at least one aspect of the technology on my desk, literally right now. And there's a video of on Facebook of it passing a functions test that I'm really excited about. So with that said, why the name Folkvanger? Or if you have an American accent, don't try to pronounce it the Old Norse way, the way that I do. Folkvanger, that doesn't really. If I say it one way, that doesn't mean you have to say it that way. So why the name Folkvanger? Or Folkvanger? The name was merely chosen on the poetic basis of ancient Norse texts. Folkvanger is the name of the hall of Odin's wife, Freya. According to Norse mythology, Freya handpicks the second half of elite warriors who die in combat. Symbolically, Freya's hall can be considered a safe haven for suffering women, as evidenced by tales like Egil Saga, in which the daughter of Egil starves to death, but finds herself comforted by Freya in her hall, where she may eat bountifully and forever. If Egil's daughter is interpreted as a symbol of suffering women carried to Folkvanger, the same place where the hand-picked souls of ancient warriors go to become Freya's guard, then Folkvanger is a perfect poetic name for a safe haven for Freya's daughters, the women of Western civilization. Meanwhile, for specific men to build Folkvanger, while providing genuine security, is poetically tantamount to those hand-selected warriors that Freya would choose to protect them. Example, with our advanced digital security system provided to the premises, that's a form of security, right? A form protecting them. And the first three hand-selected men, including me, Mike Norton, comprised the original physics and engineering team of the company to make such technology possible. And my two road dogs in this project are Abel Betegi, a Hungarian doctoral award-winning physics Olympiad. He was the top in his country. And Andy Baregi. I'm sorry, Andy Stiller. Sorry, that's actually a typo. His last name is actually Andy Stiller. Sorry, Andy. All right, he's a German sports car engineer. With that said, and there's me, right? So I'm triple classing, and it's taken me nearly 10 years to get that knowledgeable in the different trades necessary to build a company from scratch, both as a marketing strategist, as a CEO, but also as a physicist and also as an engineer, because I need to know both Abel's job and Andy's in order to really resurrect us from the ground up, which is a level of skill and knowledge that I did not have with our first product, but I have now. And I'm increasingly learning. Even though I dropped out of college, that does not mean that I stopped learning. And that's important. So what will the shelters look like? Well, these. Depicted are several possibilities, 3D rendered. These may look expensive to create, but they're not. These are beautiful homes, pre-manufactured for price ranges between $15,000 to $50,000 each. You can literally find these on Amazon. I did not choose them randomly, but by the specific roofing that these particular models utilize that would make sense for Alaska's winter snowfall. Right, because a lot of what you'll find on Amazon will have flat roofs. I chose these because you need something for the snow to fall off. Else you'll get a lot of major problems with the infrastructure of the house. The structure of the house. All right, okay, so the idea now, granted, these are small homes, but that's fine because what I've also learned from the experience of the first failure for Wolven Industries is precisely to start small. Start small with what you can really handle and knock out of the park. So the idea is to start small, securing safety for only 1 to 2 families at a time in these shelters. But keep in mind that as we buy land, we can have many of these houses on any singular piece of land. So we can expand the output of Project Folkvanger at whatever rate that we feel comfortable as a company. And even though it may start maybe embarrassingly small with just saving 1 or 2 families, the fact that we are saving anyone at all is a step in the right direction for sure. And the reason why, and you may ask, okay, why not just contract a major, just a really large facility? There are a lot of reasons for that. Privacy of the women. Personally, I've lived in open bay barracks before, serving the military. They suck. I don't like open bay barracks. They're unsanitary. And the pacing of our scalability and how quickly we can actually produce tangible results. It might take me years to come up with the $10 million it might take to build a large, expansive facility. However, if we start small with a pre-manufactured house that is inexpensive, we can start saving people sooner and start in a grassroots way that I myself can build the first structures myself. And I have a picture of me on my land hauling equipment to the location to begin building that I've already begun. All right. So what's most important is that I want the women to have genuine comfort. I want each woman residing in better than common cold, dank, open bay warehouses of other shelters. And I want them to make sure that they have full amenities. Each establishment will be equipped with heating, Wi-Fi, and everything typical of a normal first world home, because it's not even just about the women, it's about the children. How traumatic is an open bay barracks women's shelter for tiny children? A word on the shelter security. Okay. From RFID, what to expect. And we're just about done, which is amazing. I've kept my mouth shut all this time. From RFID technology that will automatically lock and unlock magnetically sealed doors, because I'm going to modify the prefabricated houses, by the way, for every registered tenant, with network connected motion detection, sound detection, and thermal detection, which is going to be particularly useful in the Alaskan cold. Like it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to pop out like a light bulb in the middle of the Alaskan winter to these sensors, right? In the house via this, that'll automatically alert everyone, not only everyone in the house via their smartphones in real time, but also the police, right? And the women will be kept safe and sound with our security technology. Now this right here, what I have to show. This is an example. Now there's no plastic enclosure for this yet, but I have the 3D printer for it like right off screen. I have a 3D printer right here above me on my right here. So we can start 3D printing the initial enclosures for the first customers that we bring in. Oh, and also, speaking of the first customers that we bring in, just like how we're starting small with only one house to save 1 or 2 families, we're starting small again with the sales that we make by only taking 5 customers, a maximum of 5 customers, to make sure that we don't have a massive scale problem, that we really, if something goes wrong, to make sure that we are really knocking it out of the park with the first 5 customers And once they all across the board deliver 5-star reviews of us that we legitimately earned, then we'll open our doors to scaling to more customers, which at that point will be much easier. But first, I want to make sure that we do a fantastic job for the first few people, the first 5 customers and the first 2 families that we save. This, believe it or not, was made by my son. He's 5 years old. But don't let that fool you. Just because he's 5 years old, he's my son. Just because he's 5 years old doesn't mean he isn't a really cool kid. This is a microcontroller attached to a rechargeable battery for portability. And this is a magnetic sensor. Remember how I said that we will have magnetically sealed doors. Magnetically sealed doors, motion detection sensors, all of these together. And there's a functions test video. I'm not going to show that on this live stream, but there's already a recorded functions test video that I published last month, I believe, a month or so ago. So we're able to develop these in my house now. Right now, we're able to develop these and sell and deliver and maintenance. So we're able to start off completely in-house, owning everything that we do without needing to outsource anything. And here's a picture that I referenced earlier in the live stream. The first shelter can be built by my own hand. The others can be delegated to contractors at scale as the company regrows, right? So starting small. We secure the first few customers. We really knock it out of the park. We do a good job with the first 5. Then we open it up to more. We pull in more revenue, more profit, and we reinvest that into the first shelter. Now, I'm only expecting to be very fair and honest. I'm only expecting a few $1,000s of profit because I am not in a rush. And that's why we're going to win, particularly not just simply the exponential gain in skill experience in multiple crafts, multiple fields, multiple professions that I've learned over the past 8 years since our fruition. But also that now I have a patience with this that I did not have before. Because before with the U-Ray, I was rushing to beat market demand, to fulfill market demand as it would pertain to the COVID crisis. Because the COVID crisis was the catalyst for the U-Ray. But now, home security is an evergreen problem. There will always be someone who needs protection with their home, always. It's an infinite market, so long as there are births. And even if there aren't births, so long as there's just somebody living, they're going to need protection of some kind. With that said, here's a picture of me originally headed out there into the Alaskan wilderness to build a private home for my family by hand, among other things. So I was doing several things on that land. And the rope there, the cord there that you see in the photo is what we were using. We had put lots of different equipment onto a sled, and I had to drag the sled, and you see me hooking that to my harness. You see me hooking that cord to my harness, and as well as on that you see guns, right? This is if you've ever read the book Yield that I've written, this is the gun that both Eric and Sigurd had, Ruger precision rifle, and that isn't the precise 10mm pistol that they had in the book, but that is a Springfield XD9. Later on, they upgraded to a 45. But with that said, this is a picture of me hauling equipment to the actual dig site on the land that I have donated to the project. The first 1 or 2 shelters just need a guy like me to go out there and get his hands dirty, which I'm not only capable, but willing to do, enthusiastic to do. All right, and the guns I'm equipped with in the photo are for hunting and protection while I will need to stay out there for days or weeks, however long it may be, to finish each prefabricated house. And staying out for weeks in the Alaskan winter is, maybe not weeks, maybe that's an exaggeration, for a week. The longest I've stayed out in the Alaskan winter has been a week, but that's enough to kill the average person. For me, at my level of skill and training and experiential knowledge, no, it was fine. I had a great time. And I do mean I had a great time. It was fun. With that said, on ethical funding, reinvestments, investors, and grants. These are the only 3 ways that we're going to be raising funds. And there's a slide upcoming about why we will not take donations. Okay, so, but let's go for it. Before we get there, let's go into the reinvestment section. Norton's Mind is currently I have several sole proprietorships. One of them is called Norton's Mind, another one is called Omi Firm, and another one is called Norton's Gourmet. Norton's Gourmet is a family cooking, a family culinary arts business that I don't really operate. I just use that as like a digital method of teaching my children entrepreneurship. It's like the digital version of the lemonade stand. And whatever they create in the kitchen, with my guidance, of course, because I used to be a professional chef when I was a teenager, I teach them how to sell things online. So that way they build these familial, on-the-job experience skills that they will carry with them through the rest of their lives in preparation for, if they're willing to, take the other companies, the actual companies, off my hands. With that said, Norton's Mind is a sole proprietorship that probably most of you, if not all of you, already know about. And that primarily publishes literary work. Its two main sources of income would be book sales and my Substack blog. Omi Firm is a marketing firm that both contracts marketing services and buys percentages of startups. Think of it as a baby form of Berkshire Hathaway. And we could go into that in a different call, but basically what I've done is I've become an award-winning marketing strategist. And according to Upwork.com, I am the top 1%. I'm within the bracket of top 1% of marketing strategists in the world. I've won awards. And what I've done is I've allocated some funds to buying percentages of different startups. So I've shifted from merely a contractual freelancer into shareholder. And you can read information about one of the businesses that I've already begun investing in, which is a tabletop role-playing game. And the company's called Dark Lock Studios, right? But I don't own that. I'm an active shareholder in that. And later on, that'll be its own announcement. With that said, and then there's Wolven Industries, right? So a percentage of every sale, a percentage of my income from all of these assets that I've been building over the years, all these assets that I've been acquiring, a percentage from each, a percentage of Wolven Industry sales, a percentage of book sales, Norton's Mind sales, Substacks subscriptions, eventually Norton's Gourmet, depending on whatever kid wants to turn that into take that business seriously. The tabletop role-playing game, whatever income proceeds that I get from that, a percentage of all of this combined from my own pocket will be continually, regularly reinvested in this project. That way, even if nobody has faith in me at all, even if no one invests in me, which people already have, but just to say hypothetically, even if nobody has or nobody ever would, no matter what, with my own money, some aspect of this is going to get done. The legacy, the seed of the legacy will be started. And then that leads us to the second column, which would be investors, private investors, since we are a private company. Through the power of my personal branding, I am building a small private network of investors who support me in the mission through Wolven Industries as a conduit. Wolven Industries is but a conduit for the accomplishment of the mission, which is to protect Western civilization actively, not just with rhetoric, because there are a lot of spokespeople that they talk about protecting Western civilization, but they don't actually do anything. We are actually doing something in a legal, sustainable, entrepreneurial way. And home security is not only a great literal way to start, but it's a great poetic way to start. Literally defending Western civilization, protecting Western civilization. And we share a Slack chat. We, like-minded few, share a Slack chat. And I'll be opening that Slack chat again. Right now, it's been pretty dormant since we've been dormant as a company, as I've set us to relaunch. But now, some of you, if you're watching this, you might have noticed that there are ticks going on in the Slack chat. We're about to go fully active again. With that said, the next way that we'll take funding will be through grants, government grants. Right? Both state and federal grants are continually in motion, year after year, willing to subsidize some percentage of our efforts to build sustainable ways to protect people. And we can see what we qualify regularly for. Sometimes we'll qualify for one thing, other times we'll qualify another, but it's like grants move in cycles generally. So some years we'll see what we can earn from grant money and other years not. Okay, now a word on the money that we will not accept. We believe that we should only accept money that we earn. Period, point blank, hands down. We believe that we should only accept money that we earn. Therefore, you will never see us go on campaigns for donations. If we need to make more money, then we need to work harder, such as, but not limited to, writing more books, publishing more books, more products, working harder with sales, right? Period. Whether it be through book sales or technology subscriptions or whatever it is that we're selling, give me t-shirts, whatever it is, we will only accept money in exchange for some kind of value immediately offered in return to the person giving that money. The only donations we'll accept will be in-house, aka from me or owners of the company if they just want to donate. Such as if I wanted to just pay for something out of pocket as a leader of the project. Right. So that's, even if private investors are to be eventually paid back, right? So we're open to taking private investor funds, but that's on a contractual basis. And on that contractual basis, they will be eventually paid back, right? So that's not really a donation. And just as importantly, any private investments we accept must be Western or European. We're not going to be accepting donations from Saudi Arabians. We're not going to be accepting donations from the Chinese. Because the moment you do that is the moment they get a say in what goes on with the data of our technology. And I promised everyone that they would have privacy, that I would legitimately not be the kind of CEO who will look at their, what they will legitimately have privacy. When I say that their data stays with them, I mean their data stays with them. I have no desire to look at other people's private conversations or anything like that, or where they're located in the house. That's not what's going to happen. It's not what's going to happen. And to make sure that it stays that way, so long as I'm alive, because I can't speak for the CEO that'll come after, but I'll make sure that when we incorporate as an LLC again, when we re-corporatize, that it's written in the operating agreement that no private investor funds can come as investment to our company, no matter how large we grow. And in order to assume the CEO seat, such as if a son of mine inherits the company and inherits my role in the company, in order to assume the seat, you must agree to these conditions for as long as you work as the CEO. That creates a chain, a legacy chain of whoever runs Wolven Industries will be loyal to the West and not accept. I would much rather us slow our progress down than to accept foreign money that will compromise user data, period. Money's important, but it's not what drives me. And on a word on accepting government subsidies, okay. Now, you may criticize us for accepting government subsidies, but my preemptive defense of that would be, we accept government subsidies only because that is tax money already paid by the people at gunpoint, since that's how the government works. Therefore, we can ensure, at least what we can do is the greatest good with the situation of that money being taken from the people, not voluntarily given, and redirected into a cause that they genuinely support, that genuinely benefits them at home. Funding, unethical funding. Now, these are screenshots from the current update to the Norton's Mind women's profile page, the women's shelter profile page. We believe in radical transparency. Every dollar and or funding, just like my mind, just like how I just, whenever I get a thought, I just put it online. I have some limited editing, but that's it, right? I'm more transparent than people realize. We believe in radical transparency as a company thereafter. Every dollar and or funding source will be made available to the public on a monthly or quarterly basis. Currently, we're on a monthly basis. And if there will be a change, if I shift it to quarterly, which is likely going to happen, I'll send out an email letting everybody know, hey, even if you don't care personally, because I'm sure some people do, if you don't see an update this month, it's because we're shifting to a quarterly basis. That way I can conserve energy with the updates that are made, and so on and so forth, right? For now, the current data on fundraising efforts has been on the Norton's Mind website. You can if you go to nortonsmind.com and hover on the navigation bar, scroll down or we'll hover down and click on women's shelter, and you'll see a page that has these screenshots on it. Oh, whoa. That has these screenshots on it. And this is the money that we've been able to generate so far, and the income sources that are coming, and they're coming from me. Right? So you can see I'm putting my own, as usual, I'm putting my own money into this. Right? So I'm not just taking people's money. I'm not begging for money. That's not the kind of guy I am. I lead by example. That's my style. If I ask you to put in $5,000, it's only because I was willing to put in 10, and you would get a return back. That's the intention. So for now, the current data is on the Norton's Mind website. However, this will likely shift to the Wolven Industries website, since it is classifiably a Wolven Industries project, once that new website comes online. And right now, the Wolven Industries website is under construction, because with this launch, we're doing everything new. The new website, new everything. So for the time being, just to get started, it's on the Norton's Mind website. Tack fyrir. Thank you for coming. And it turned out to be exactly an hour. Any questions, comments? Let me check the... Cool. Working in my capacity. Nancy says, working in my capacity, absolutely job training, learning a trade, and building confidence. Awesome. John says, where did you learn Old Norse from? Where did you learn Ancient Norse from? Well, that's not really relevant to the PowerPoint presentation, but I learned it from... Well, actually, let me back up before I even say that much. I wouldn't claim to know Old Norse. I would claim to have studied it, right? But really, only a tiny handful of dudes who are born and raised in that native environment really know how to speak it. And I've learned from them. And they're really, really cool guys, legendary guys that were kind enough to give someone like me the time of day. I'm learning from them now. So I can't speak Old Norse. I know lots of phrases. I'm relatively decent with my pronunciation. And I can translate some aspect of the ancient texts to a grand measure greater than the average person online, especially a lot of so-called white supremacists that they're so pro-Norse, like they think they're so proud of their heritage, and they don't even read the language, right? Yet they use the symbols, right? I can translate far more than those guys, but I would not be so arrogant as to claim that I can speak or even effectively fluently read Old Norse. I can translate quite a bit of it in Anglophonic writing with great effort. Kind of like an Icelandic person might be able to, but you'd probably you'd do better off with an actual Icelandic person doing that, since they were born and raised in that environment. I wasn't. I would say I'm really smarter than average, but I'm not that good. I'm good, but not that good. That said, Zoria, you make me think about actions. I would like to think I gave some of these ideas to my sons. All right. Salazar King says, great stuff. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you so much for the support. All right, so, and I'm glad people like the fact that, you're not criticizing me for starting with a small shelter, right? No, experience has taught me, start small, knock something you can really control, something you can handle and get done quickly, really knock that out of the park, like really do a good job. And then it's like in that Jordan Peterson-esque metaphysical concept of cleaning your room, and when you can clean your room first, then start to help others clean theirs, right? So in a lot of different ways that philosophy can apply. I've cleaned my own life's room. If this desk seems a little, it's kind of funny because this is my room right here behind me. If this desk seems messy, this is literally where I build technology at. So if that was super, super clean, then I would question that as fake. Because if you're really working at a desk, especially if you're a physicist or an engineer, it's going to be a little messy, right? But you see, the rest of my house is clean, literally, metaphysically. Even my dreadlocks, extremely clean. And now, if I can prove with the same concept with Wolven Industries to do something really well, even if small scale, if you can do the small well, then attempt the larger at scale. We'll get there. But, you know, let's try to walk. Let's try to crawl before we can walk. Yeah. Okay. Any further questions? Let me check. Let me check one more time. With development of AI and the progression of the digital age, will there be a risk of these systems at Folkvanger to be hacked from remote locations? I'm just assuming this will be an inherent risk with today's world. Anything connected to the internet comes with some risk. However, if you'll notice early in the presentation, I said that there will be, I thought of that, by the way, because the U-Ray actually had some LLM programming and some standalone, not ChatGPT, LLM programming within it, because what made the U-Ray special was, and me and Abel programmed it ourselves by hand. We created, it's not classifiably AI, but it's it was close. It was close to AI in that it could tell you when you have effectively disinfected a surface. And that was one of our main selling points, that it was AI enhanced. It was an AI enhanced UV cleaning device. And we still have it. We still have the patent for it. We still have the product, the source files for it. It's just not in vogue right now. Perhaps when there is another pandemic, hopefully there won't be, but even though I think there will be inevitably at some point, we'll be much quicker to market with that. We'll pull back because the U-Ray wasn't a bad idea. The U-Ray is a good idea. It's just a matter of sustainability, and once market demand started to die down, did we have the moral ethics to not try to rely on sustained fear tactics to make sales? So part of the reason why Wolven Industries went out of business is not just simply that David Haggett had a severe negative effect on my home environment, since it was a home office that I built and was working out of. It's also, to the extent that I can take responsibility for, it was also my own moral code, not wanting to rip people off. Once the truth came out, more of the truth came out about the COVID crisis, which even though I'm a scientist, I'm totally innocent of that. I developed the U-Ray. We developed the U-Ray. I designed the U-Ray, but we developed the U-Ray as a team. We developed it with as close as we could get to AI, to not only kill microbes, but to tell you when they were dead. And if you were moving the U-Ray too quickly to effectively disinfect the surface with automatic safety features, it would turn off. If your kid, because UVC is very dangerous, potentially dangerous. So it could tell that if a little kid had grabbed it and he was waving it around, it would automatically shut off. So we had a variety of different sensors in it. It wasn't just simply a UV device. It was a very advanced UV device. And with that said, from that experience of working with programming, Josh, I can tell you that I have absolutely thought of that. And which is why I said here on the security, where I said, automatically lock on for every registered network connected motion detection automatically alerts. No, I can't remember where I wrote it, but it'll continually shift, right? So there are different encryptions that will continually shift automatically at random intervals, making it would make it a lie to say it's impossible to crack it, but pragmatically, especially when we get into quantum encryption, it's just going to be absolutely ridiculous. The only way I would see anyone trying so hard, it's not even a matter of trying hard, it's a matter of trying hard with the right equipment and expertise, because trying hard is not going to be enough to break the encryption. No matter how skillful you are, you're going to need funding. It would have to be like if we were sheltering the president's daughter or something, that somebody would really go so far as would be necessary to crack that kind of an encryption, if you get what I'm saying. So it technically, yes, there's a risk. Objectively, yes, there's a risk, but we're talking about infinitesimally small. We're talking about like fractions of percents of likelihoods. Does that answer your question? Okay. Okay. Um, any further questions? I'll stay on for maybe another 5 minutes unless I get another question. Here on this page. The women will be able to collectively control the digital data of their privacy with full accountability of who attempts to enter and leave the premises with automatically changing security parameters. That's what I mean by that. To prevent pattern exploitation by criminals. That's exactly what I meant when I wrote that in there. Josh. Anyone else? Going once? Going twice? Let me check LinkedIn because I'm streaming there too. Karen says, it's rare to see a man who can build a house with his own two hands. I suppose so. I try my best to continually advance in multiple skills, polymathically. Life demands it. If my family needs a home built, then I'm going to build them a house, period. It may not be the greatest house ever built, but like, if my wife and children need a house, they're going to get a house. Okay, I don't see anything. All right, any further questions? Okay. Going once. Going twice. Going thrice. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming.